Warning, this video contains team selection and captain choices which some viewers may find offensive.
Hey guys, and welcome back to FPL TV. Before checking out my team selection for the upcoming game week, let's quickly see how the side's performing in the ongoing double game week 26. In what is maybe the biggest ever double game week in FPL, it was a week that promised so much but perhaps didn't deliver quite as expected, particularly in midfield where neither Rashford, Fernandes or Raheem Sterling managed any returns over their two games. I think it's been the same for many FPL managers this week though, with other popular options like Harry Kane, Gundogan, Mo Salah and Calvert-Lewin also not scoring particularly highly so far. There are still a few games to go in this game week though, so things can change very quickly. The small positive of Bruno Fernandes blanking twice is that in the end I chose not to captain him, which is something I was extremely close to doing last week. It was a very tight call between him and Calvert-Lewin all week for me, and ultimately I went for the Everton frontman. Of course, there's no reason to be happy just yet, because DCL also blanked against Southampton, but at least there's one game left to go for him, so fingers crossed. I mentioned last week that I probably have my triple captain in play as well, and with that fixture against West Brom still left, a return from Calvert-Lewin here could be absolutely massive for my season. It really is the hope that kills you. There was finally a return to form for Son Heung-min against Burnley, where the South Korean turned provider and managed 2 assists, and having watched that game he was very unlucky not to register more. Spurs put out a much more attacking lineup in that game, so hopefully that's a sign of things to come with some more decent fixtures on the way for them. Aston Villa's Ollie Watkins did manage 1 assist over the double game week, but without Jack Grealish in the side he's now goalless in 4 games, and his big chances are also way down. I liked Watkins as a pick a few game weeks back, and I also liked his fixtures, but owning him without Grealish is a different prospect, so depending on how long Grealish is out will certainly impact whether I keep Watkins or not. Despite the lack of returns in attack, it was once again my defence that has done the business, and buying the double up of Diaz and Stones on the wildcard in game week 18 continues to pay off. That decision alone has been one real positive of this season so far, and my overall rank has significantly improved thanks to them over those weeks. Despite Man City conceding in both games over the double game week, both Stones and Diaz managed to get on the score sheet. Absolute heroes. So it's a score of 80 so far this game week, with Son, Rudiger and most importantly my triple captain Calvert-Lewin still to play. As things stand, a score of 80 is respectable and gives me a nice green arrow of around 50,000 places up to 250k. But there's still so much riding on this game week, and on Thursday evening it'll all come down to my triple captain Calvert-Lewin against the popular options that I don't own in Mo Salah and Harry Kane. Depending on which way that goes will have a huge impact on my season. For example, if Calvert-Lewin even scores just the 1 goal, which at this point I would certainly take, then that should take me beyond the 100 mark, and I'd consider that a very solid game week. If Calvert-Lewin blanks again however, then that's my triple captain down the drain. And then if Salah or Kane do well, I could be looking at a significant red arrow. So it really hangs in the balance for Thursday's games. So let's move on to game week 27 now and look at some potential transfer moves as well as my potential team lineup. Also, if you enjoy the content here at FPL TV, then be sure to leave a like and most importantly get subscribed. You can also hit the notification bell so you always know when a new video goes live. Of course, with games still to go and such a short space of time between game weeks this week, I can't say for certain what my transfers will be. It'll really depend on the performances on Thursday evening and also any unexpected injuries. However, I do have some provisional transfers in mind, and it'll once again come down to whether or not I keep Raheem Sterling for a further game week. In my opinion, Sterling was very unlucky to blank against Wolves because he was so close to being on the end of a few tap-ins and also hit the post. Ultimately, he's been quite a frustrating FPL asset, because as mentioned last week, it comes down to a question of price, and at the moment he's still not managing to justify it. With yet another double game week on the horizon for Man City, I could give him another chance as one of my big differentials, but the alternative is to finally downgrade him to his teammate Ilkay Gundogan. By making this downgrade, and with me having 2 free transfers available this week, it would also allow me to then accommodate Harry Kane into my side. Tottenham have a nice run of fixtures over the next few weeks, so if he can impress against Fulham on Thursday, that will probably solidify my moves. Harry Kane could come in for either Watkins or Calvert-Lewin this week, and that's something I'm still weighing up. I prefer Calvert-Lewin, but notably he doesn't play in blank game week 29, whereas Watkins does. And with my free hit chip still available for that week, I haven't yet decided on my strategy for the blank game week on whether to use the free hit then or not. If I choose to keep Raheem Sterling for this double, then it's likely Marcus Rashford who will make way instead, a player that I intend to bench this week away to Man City anyway. And in terms of replacements, both Jesse Lingard and Gareth Bale look like interesting differentials, both of which play in blank game week 29 as well. Transferring in Bale for Rashford would be an exciting transfer, but I'm still not convinced on his fitness or playing time just yet. For this reason, I'm still more keen to go for the reliable Harry Kane instead, and by downgrading Rashford to Lingard would also free up enough cash to bring Harry Kane in. As mentioned, these moves are all provisional and no transfers have been made yet, so let's now see how the team could line up if I do make the transfers of Gundogan and Harry Kane. United are away to Man City this week, and with United's poor goal-scoring record in the big games this season, and with City having excellent defensive numbers, statistically you'd think this will be a hard game for Bruno to get points in. He can always produce a bit of magic though, or simply nick a penalty, so he'll for sure be staying in my starting 11. With me potentially having 2 United attackers though, it would be an easy week for me to bench Marcus Rashford, and hopefully that doesn't come back to bite me. Rashford hasn't been in the best of form since I bought him, and is certainly not justifying that £9 million slot in my midfield. Also on my bench for game week 27 is West Brom's goalkeeper Sam Johnston at home to Newcastle, and this is probably the first week in my side that I'm actually considering to start him over Martinez. It's not that I trust West Brom defensively, but interestingly their opponents Newcastle head into this fixture without any of their starting front 3, with all of Almiron, St Maximin and Callum Wilson all out injured. This could therefore be a good chance for a West Brom clean sheet here, but Martinez has done so well for me already I may not take the gamble. If I go through with the move shown on screen, it would mean Calvert-Lewin making way for Harry Kane this week, and like I said, that will depend on my free hit and game week 29 strategy. By keeping Watkins, it gives me further players already featuring in blank game week 29, and that would then allow me to save the free hit for some time later in the season. Right now, I think I'm leaning towards that, because blank game week 29 is so small, I'm not sure I can gain many points from using the free hit there. For the captaincy this week, of course that'll depend on my transfers, and if either of Kane or Gundogan do come in, then they'll head straight into my considerations. With the draw of a double game week, it's likely I'd hand the armband to Gundogan, especially with him having been rested in the previous league game. Of course, we can never predict Pep's rotation, but my hoping would be that Gundogan plays both of these games and then gets rested in the Fulham fixture that follows, a game that precedes an important Champions League fixture. The only other consideration for me this week would be Ruben Diaz at the back, but it's always hard to go through with captaining a defender. There's no guarantees that he starts both games either, but you'd imagine there's a good chance of it, and if so, he could end up being the smart choice, with one clean sheet from the 2 games a decent possibility. So that's all my team thoughts heading into game week 27. As mentioned, a lot can change on Thursday with games still to be played in game week 26. So if you are interested to see the final transfers and team lineup, then as always you can do so over on the FPL TV Twitter page shortly before the game week deadline. Good luck to you all for game week 27, FPL responsibly, and I'll catch you all very soon.